What is going on, everybody, and welcome back. James and Shane coming at you with another division preview. First of all, James, how you doing today?
I am fantastic. How you
Good.
doing, Shane?
I'm doing all right. Our teams both reported to training camp today. Obviously, with James with his Philadelphia Eagles shirt on. I did not. I just got my Barstool shirt on. Uh, I didn't get into it that much, so I'm wondering if that makes me as much of a fan as you.
Carson didn't get put on the pup today, so I'm happy.
I didn't
So he
expect
will
you to
practice,
finish that
obviously,
quickly.
admittedly, but he will be practicing, which is great.
So today we are doing the NFC West. So we did the AFC East last night, NFC West today. So James, let's go ahead and start like we did last night.
Okay.
From fourth to the who we think the division winner is probably going to be. Who do you have in fourth place?
This team, I'm honestly really confused about. It wouldn't surprise me if they won like 10 games, but I have the Cardinals. I just feel like on paper with the new head coach, with with Sam Bradford and Josh Rosen, they have a really bad offensive line. I do think they're going to be really good in the coming years. That's going to be a really good division in general in the coming years. The Seahawks, they're rebuilding and everything, but they still have Wilson as a top 5 quarterback. So that's just going to be a good division in general. But the Cardinals, I got them in fourth. Who do you have in fourth?
Same,
Like
Arizona. There's a lot of stuff to like about this team. They have a star running back, David Johnson. They have weapons on the perimeter with Larry Fitzgerald and now Christian Kirk, who I like. They have a really good pass rush with Marcus Golden and Chandler Jones, a decent secondary with Patrick Peterson, Buda Baker, who is an all-pro as a rookie, and Antoine Bethea, I don't know how you pronounce his name, Bethea. So there's a lot of stuff to like. Unfortunately, though, like you said, the most important parts, they got a bad offensive line. I'd say probably top 5 worst in the NFL.
Yeah.
New head coach and injury-prone Sam Bradford at quarterback. For right now, we know Josh Rosen's going to get that job at some point, or at least given a chance to get that job. And he's a rookie. And I do like Rosen in this organization. They've been pretty well run the last decade or so. But yeah, I'm with you. I think they could be anywhere between like a 9-7 to 4-12. It's just a wide range for me.
Yeah, exactly. Same.
Yeah.
The wild card.
Yeah, they could be a wild card. Yeah.
No, I meant like they're just a wild card in general. I'm taking the wild card.
Yeah, and then I'm looking at their schedule.
Not in the NFC.
What's that?
They're not going to make the wild card in the NFC.
No, I'm just looking at their schedule. They got some tough road games here. At the Rams, obviously. At San Francisco. At Minnesota. At Kansas City. At the Chargers. At Green Bay. At Atlanta. That's just some tough road games there. I think it's going to be – I'm not even sure they'll win a game on the road, honestly. And, James, I told you my rule when I fill out, win-loss projections for every team. I try to give every team at least one loss at home, one loss or one win on the road. Just generally, that's how it works. And that's a tough one. I'm not sure they'll win a game on the road this year.
Yeah, they'll probably squeeze. Every team always wins some games they're supposed to lose, and vice versa. So they'll have a couple of those. Honestly, I'll give my prediction at the end as far as record.
I was going to ask if you wanted to do that. But so in third place, probably, I don't know if you'd be surprised at this, but I have the Seattle Seahawks in third.
That's where I have them.
Yeah. I have a feeling we're going to have the exact 4 teams in order here. So it's not going to be very fun, but it's likely how it's going to happen. Very predictable division like the AFC East was last night. But Seattle Seahawks in third.
You never know, though.
You never know. That's true. They still have Seattle, pieces that I like. Russell Wilson, obviously, like you said, I 100% agree. He's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. They still have Bobby Wagner, who's probably the best middle linebacker in the NFL. Earl Thomas, even though he wants a new contract or wants out. It's hard to tell. And he's holding out training camp. I don't know if you saw that today.
I did.
Yeah. So they still have some guys that I like, but their defensive line's now depleted. What's his name? Michael Bennett just went to your Philadelphia Eagles. They traded away him with Averill retired. The interior has always been a weakness for them, and they just lost Sheldon Richardson in the offseason. Now it's kind of Jerron Reed and Malik McDowell, one of their draft picks from last year, and Frank Clark, who has been pretty good on the edge, I believe. But I expect that defense to take a huge step backward, I guess, now. Just this is a team, I think that's – and also I forgot to mention they have Doug Baldwin on the perimeter. Very underrated wide receiver. But the biggest weakness with this team is their offensive line. Ever since – I remember because we worked at Chick-fil-A together. Ever since that Jimmy Graham trade to get him, and they traded away Bryant – was that his name? Bryant Unger? Max Unger. You're right. That offensive line has been in the toilet, and they've never been able to assemble a good one. And I just don't know. I don't like what they did this offseason, especially in the draft, reaching considerably.
They had a bad draft.
Yeah.
It made absolutely no sense whatsoever. I didn't get it.
And they needed a running back. I get that, but they reached considerably for Rashad Penny. And I like him as a player, but he wasn't a first-round pick. So I'll let you talk. I did all I wanted to say. Just we're going to have the same things to say. What's up?
You hit most of my points. The main thing I was going to drive home was, first of all, I still think they're going to be a pretty decent ball club. I still see them being around as good as they were last year, which was 9-7. I don't know if that was what I'd give them record-wise, but they're going to be around the same caliber of a football team. They're not going to be like I don't think they'll be sub 500. The main thing that hit home was the draft. They had a terrible draft. I just remember thinking, wow, there's actually really a lot of good offensive linemen left when the Seahawks were up.
Especially in the interior. We talked about that in Baltimore.
It was one of the best interior line drafts of all time, and they needed an interior line, and they didn't take one at all. It's not that they didn't take one in the first round or the second round. Like, they didn't take one at all. They grabbed a tackle, I think, in, the sixth round.
I do like him. He fell. I think Jamarco Jones was supposed to be a second or third round pick, and he fell to the fifth.
I don't think Jamarco Jones. I thought it was Tyrell Crosby. Or am I wrong in that?
They might have taken him, too. He fell, too. I can't remember where he ended up, but I know they took Jamarco Jones.
I might be wrong then. But still, man, it was a bad draft. They're going to be relevant because of Russell Wilson.
Yes.
He's in his prime. He's, he might be the MVP next year. Who knows?
Yeah. I don't see it with this offensive line. They do at least have Dwayne Brown. That is one bright spot on this line and at the most important position. But the rest, Ethan Pochich at left guard, Justin Britt at center, DJ Fluker at right guard, Jermaine Ifedi at right tackle. Justin Britt, I think they've moved him from right tackle to center to right tackle back to center 4 times since they drafted him. I just don't like where this team is right now, and their schedule's pretty tough. They open at Denver. Von Miller and Bradley Chubb against that offensive line, first game of the year. I'm already chalking that up as a win for Denver.
Yeah.
At Chicago. Chicago's tricky. You've talked about how you like them somewhat. To kind of be about.
I'm higher on Mitch Trubisky than a lot of other people are.
And that's funny because you were the one that. I was the one that actually liked Trubisky more than you around the draft when he was drafted.
Yeah, it's because he only played 1 year, and last year he really didn't have a good year, but I thought he showed flashes. I mean, whether he can put it all together, I think he's going to be pretty good. I really do.
Anyway, back on topic here. So they open at Denver, then they got Chicago on the road, back-to-back road games to start the year. Then they get Dallas at home, who could gash them with that run game since they don't have anyone in the interior. They got Bobby Wagner, but that's about it. And then they're at Arizona. That's 3 road games in a row. And two of those teams, have great pass rushers, and Chicago's no slouch defensively.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm with you. How the mighty have fallen. This team was just 4 years ago in the Super Bowl, and we kept making the argument. What's that?
People thought it was going to be a dynasty.
Yeah. And just funny how that stuff works out. But like you, I don't see this team falling off the face of the earth. But I'm not. 9-7 feels about right. I could see 8-8 or 7-9. They're still going to hover around 500. I think.
I think they're going to be about 500.
Yeah,
probably.
I agree. So in second place, I already know who you got, but go ahead.
I have the San Francisco 49ers. Honestly, I was way higher on them, but I came back to earth on them. They honestly still have a pretty average roster.
Yeah.
But the fact that they pretty much have an equivalent of Sean McVay. I feel like a lot of people don't know that, but Kyle Shanahan is at least as good as Sean McVay. He might be a little better, to be honest with you. And he finally has a good quarterback. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is the best quarterback in that division besides Russell Wilson right now. I think he's a little more talented than Jared Goff.
I agree.
Just overall, Jared Goff might have a little bit more accurate of an arm.
Goff, you've said this, and I think you're right. Just Goff feels like he's just doing what McVay tells him to do.
Oh, it's 100%. Apparently.
And I think Garoppolo just has that. You go ahead, man.
They get to the line of scrimmage extremely fast. Well, I'll get to that in a second because we're about to talk about the Rams, so I won't talk about that. But I have the Niners. They've put a lot of draft picks into their defensive line over the last few years, and I don't know if that's really came to fruition. Solomon Thomas is a bum. Sorry, he is. He didn't do anything last year. He was like the number 2 overall pick.
Well, I think real quick, I think they ran a 3-4, and they already had 3 solid ones with Eric Armstead and DeForest Buckner. And who's the other guy? Earl Mitchell, decent. So maybe he was just buried on the depth chart. Who knows? But now they're switching to more of a 4-man front.
Mm-hmm. Their cornerbacks are pretty weak. If I'm not mistaken, they have a pretty good safety in Tart. Their linebackers are good if Reuben Foster can stay healthy and not beat up his girlfriend.
They do have Richard Sherman, and it is coming off an injury like that's tough, but he's Richard Sherman.
I do think that they're going to win, a decent amount of games because of Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
I think they're going to, really, he's like the Brad Stevens of the NFL. He's good for a few extra points just because of how good he is.
Yeah. I have the same exact thing. I got the San Francisco 49ers in second. I really like them. Like you in the offseason, I was like, man, this team looks like a team. I think I even might have picked them to win the division when we did like our way too early 2018 predictions. And I just remember thinking, like, this team has a huge opportunity because they had a lot of cap room. They had a lot of draft picks. I'm like, they can really take a step forward this year. And they really didn't do much in free agency.
Not a great draft either. I
thought they did. McGlinchey, Pettis, Tavarius Moore, safety. I thought they did, but it was free agency that was the big one. They had a ton of money to spend, and they really didn't add anybody outside of Richard Sherman and an okay Jerick McKinnon.
They should have traded for Odell Beckham.
That would have been interesting. But
Odell, Jimmy G connection for the next 8 years would have been beautiful.
Yeah, and they can afford them.
Beautiful.
But I'm with you. They do have a very good quarterback. I'd say second best quarterback in this division.
Also, what hurts? This is a hot take prediction, but I think Will Grier is going to end up being a Giant, and that hurts my feelings. I think he's going to go mid first round to the Giants, who are going to be a 500, 8-8 football.
I would honestly, again, we're getting off topic. I would love to see him in New York because unlike Geno Smith, I think he can handle it.
He would embrace the shit out of it, dude. Yeah. He'd grow his fucking long ass hair out again. He would kill that shit. But I don't want him to go there because fuck the Giants.
Yeah. Anyway, so back with the 49ers. All about your Eagles, I know. How much time we got? We're running a little long, but that's okay. So they got Jimmy Garoppolo, who I agree is the second best quarterback in this division. He just has, I think, that it factor. He just seems special. I think Goff is good, but it just seems like he's a system guy with McVay. I don't get that with Garoppolo. I feel like he came in right off the bat and started winning games with Shanahan. It's not like he had a whole offseason. And Goff didn't have a whole offseason with McVay, but he had some considerable time. He was with Shanahan for 2 weeks, and he was winning 5 games in a row and putting up decent numbers. But so I really like them, but I don't like their weapons offensively. Pierre Garçon is way past his prime. Marquise Goodwin put up good numbers with Garoppolo, but he's not that special. We'll see what happens with Dante Pettis. I think he's more of a returner. He could make a good deep threat. Yeah. George Kittle at tight end, he's okay, but their offensive line, they really need McGlinchey to step up. They have Joe Staley, who's a pretty good left tackle. If they can get McGlinchey to be very good at right tackle early, that'd be huge. But their interior is very weak. They have 2 guys. One is a bust. He's on his first-round pick on his second team, Laken Tomlinson. Weston Richburg might have started with the Giants, but I'm not sure you want that on your resume with the offensive line the Giants have had the last few years. Yeah. And then Josh Garnett hasn't quite panned out at right guard. So we'll see. Defensively, unlike you, I do like their defensive line. Solomon Thomas, Eric Armstead, DeForest Buckner, Earl Mitchell. That's a solid defensive line, I mean.
I didn't say that it was bad, but that's
okay.
3 first-round picks. Do you think they're that good for being 3 first-round picks?
No, I'll agree with that. You would think they'd be better on the defensive front.
They should be stacked at that position right now, and they're not. They got some pretty good players. They're pretty good players.
And then
Solomon Thomas is an average defensive end. I don't think he was number 2 overall. I think they should have grabbed someone else. I think Derek Barnett is going to end up being better than him.
He could.
Barnett's just already.
It's just hard to tell with Barnett. He's buried on the depth chart in Philly.
Not this year, baby.
Oh, that's right. But yeah, I do like their linebackers like you. I think their secondary is a little bit better this year with adding Richard Sherman, but it's still not an elite unit.
It's average at best.
Yeah. And I think they're asking a lot of Richard Sherman. And I don't care for Richard Sherman, but I respect him as a player. I just think it's asking a lot of him to be like, oh, hey, you're coming off an Achilles, but we need you to be a lockdown corner like you were in Seattle 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. I subscribe to the theory that Richard Sherman is obviously a really good player. He's going to go to the Hall of Fame, but he also played with Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor in a system where he never had to leave one side.
Yep.
So
Yep.
If they expect him at 31 years old, or I think he's 31, off of an Achilles tear to go shut people down in San Francisco, they're going to be in it for a rude awakening. He's going to get burned this year. It's going to be bad. His Pro Football Focus numbers, those little grades they give, those are going to be really low. He's not going to be very good.
We'll see. But more on San Francisco. Their schedule is really tough the first 6 games. At Minnesota, at Kansas City, at the Chargers, and then at Green Bay. 4 of their first 6 games are on the road. And all of those teams could be playoff teams this year. Minnesota, Kansas City, LA Chargers, and Green Bay could all be in the postseason this year.
I honestly think they lose all 4 of those games.
I could see that too. But
on the road?
Yeah, all of those are on the road. Minnesota, maybe they're still rolling with the Garoppolo hype. He won however many games in a row last year. Maybe they're still rolling. We'll see. But yeah, I won't be surprised if they lose all 4. And then so in first place, it's not going to be a surprise. Now there's just only one team left for the both of us, but that is the Los Angeles Rams. And James, you know what I've felt about the LA Rams all offseason, but I still am not crazy about this team, but I look at the rest of the division, and I see 3 teams that are kind of still rebuilding, and this is a team that's ready to win now.
I mean, the Rams are weak at a couple positions, but they're also stellar at a couple positions. So, Brandon Cooks was a nice addition. He's a good deep threat. Jared Goff is above average. I mean, if he can replicate what he did last year, they're going to win a lot of games. It wasn't a off the charts season, but it was very efficient, very good, above average. I mean, I think Jared Goff's ceiling is honestly like a 8th or 9th best quarterback in the league, which is pretty damn good. I honestly think he can be that good in the future. Todd Gurley is an absolute stud, but dude, Todd Gurley could get hurt the first game. He's a running back. You honestly have no idea. They all could, but Todd Gurley and any running back especially, honestly. I think when a running back is the best player on your team, you should be a little bit afraid. And that could be the Eagles hater in me because that's Dallas. But, dude, your running back, I don't care how big and sturdy he is, dude, you're getting fucking smacked 25 times a game.
I agree.
And that can, you know what I mean? That's not going to last very long. So, that's why I think no matter how good, I don't think Saquon Barkley's going to be the best running back in the league this year, like some people do. Right off the bat, I just don't see it. Like, he got shut down by Rutgers. Sorry, I'm not trying to get off topic here, but anyway, the Rams. Who's their tight end?
Tyler Higbee and Gerald Everett. I'm looking at the depth chart here.
Never mind. They need a tight end. They do have an above-average offensive line. They can have a top 10 offensive line, I think. Defensively, I don't really dig their personnel defensively as much as other people do, to be honest with you.
I'm glad you're saying this because I'm going to get into that too.
They don't have any edge rushers, which is important. I mean, it's really, really important. I feel like all you have to do to avoid the inside pressure is you can roll quarterbacks out, you can run to the outside. Like, you know what I mean? When you don't have somebody to collapse the edge, obviously you know how big of a advocate I am for inside pressure. It's extremely important, but it's a complement to outside pressure. When there's no outside pressure, you can just run. And most quarterbacks can outrun those fat guys. So they have really good cornerbacks. But like I said, they don't have edge rushers, and they complement each other. And I don't care how good of a quarterback you are. Like, you're on an island, you're going to get burned. You can be Darrelle Revis, Patrick Peterson, anybody. If you have 5 seconds, you're going to get open. They remind me a lot of the Eagles a few years ago when they got all those big name free agents, and everybody's just like, damn, this team looks so good on paper, like we're going to win a lot of games. And anybody who actually watches football for a long time or played football knows that having talent on your team is literally, it's a big part of it. It's probably 1/3 of it, but the rest, 1/3 coaching, 1/3 talent, and the rest, you know what I mean? All that talent on that roster, if it doesn't come together, they're not going to beat a team with better chemistry and everything like that. So we'll see. I don't know how much players like Ndamukong Suh and Marcus Peters are going to respect a guy like Sean McVay, who looks like my little brother walking around the locker room, head coach. I don't know. I think the Rams have a potential to go 13-3, or they could literally go 8-8, depending on how that all goes. That whole division, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if any team went below or above 500.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Literally
I wouldn't say necessarily. I think all 4 teams could win the division, but what you said about either could finish above 500 or at or below 500, I could easily see.
I would be surprised if the Rams went below 500.
Yes.
But if literally every team in that division could go either way. Really, they really could. It's going to completely depend. There's no really horrible. That's not true. That's not true now. The Seahawks do have a pretty bad roster now. I was going to say there's not really any horrible rosters in that division, but outside of quarterback and left tackle and middle linebacker, the Seahawks are pretty terrible. So I don't know. We'll see. The Seahawks literally might come in last place in that division if Russell Wilson slumps or
or gets hurt, which we don't want to happen. So I have not been as high on this team all offseason. I've said for a while I'm not going to pick this team to win the NFC West. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And here I am, and I'm like, I just don't love – I was all in on the Niners, and then I just really started to think about it. I'm like, I don't like them that much anymore after I saw their personnel. But the Rams did a lot of what I'd call – did a lot of this in the offseason, what I call making sexy moves.
Mm-hmm.
They go out and get, I think, Marcus Peters first. Big name, great cornerback. Okay, that's pretty good. They get Aqib Talib. Okay, now they got 2 lockdown corners. That's pretty interesting. Then they sign Ndamukong Suh, and you're like, oh, that's going to be huge with him and Aaron Donald. Then they trade for Brandon Cooks. But at the same time, they lose a first-round pick, and I think they did lose a second-round pick to get Marcus Peters. And I remember thinking to myself, well, you have some holes on the offensive line. You don't have an edge rusher, and you don't have any linebackers because they traded away Alec Ogletree.
who already wasn't that great, but he was your best linebacker.
He was your best one. He was okay. I mean, I was a little bit higher on him than I think other people were, I guess.
He's a B linebacker.
Yeah, he's all right.
He's maybe slightly above average, but he's just a guy. He really is.
But I look at this team, and we've said Jared Goff. I like Jared Goff, but it felt like he just does what McVay tell. Like, it just seems like he's in his ear. Hey, throw it to the right here, and he'll throw it to the right, or throw it to the left. And then Todd Gurley, like you said, is their best probably offensive weapon. That's kind of scary with a running back. They could get hurt on any play. And I look at their depth at running back. They don't have anyone that I've heard of. Malcolm Brown right now is their second-string running back. I have no idea who that is.
Let me put it this way. You want your best player on offense to be your quarterback.
Yes.
If that is the case, you are in good shape. That is not the case there. It's not the case in Dallas. It's not the case in New York. And I'm telling you, when that's not the case, it's really hard to win a Super Bowl or go far in the playoffs. It happens. Like the Vikings got to the NFC Championship last year. The Eagles got to win the Super Bowl without their best player. But, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's when you know your team is in good standing for the future, when your best player is your quarterback.
Yeah. And Packers, their wide receivers, don't get me wrong, I would take this wide receiver core in a heartbeat. But when you have a quarterback like Goff, you don't really know what you're going to get sometimes with Goff. And none of these guys are number one receivers. Brandon Cooks is the closest thing to it. I don't think he's a number one receiver, James. Nope. I don't think Robert Woods is a number one receiver. Cooper Kupp, we don't know. He might break out. It's only been 1 year, and he did have a nice connection with Goff. But Pharaoh Cooper, yeah. And then Tyler Higbee, Gerald Everett are athletic. I don't dislike them. I'm not sure they're true number one tight ends. Their offensive line, outside of Andrew Whitworth, I think this offensive line is below average, honestly. I've never heard of these guys. Roger, I don't know if that speaks bad on me or the Rams, probably more on me, but Roger Saffold, I've never heard of him. John Sullivan at center, I've never heard of him. Jamon Brown, I have heard of, at least. And then Rob Havenstein at right tackle. I did hear of him because I remember his name around the draft because he's from Wisconsin. And being a Green Bay fan, they thought maybe they might draft him. But anyway, like you said, their interior defensive line is fantastic. Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh, Michael Brockers. I'm not disputing that, but like you said, there are no edge rushers on this team. Their starters right now, I think, are two guys named Samson Ebukam. I've never heard of him. Matt Longacre. Never heard of him.
That's terrible.
Their inside linebackers are Mark Barron, who's okay.
Okay.
And Bryce Hager. I remember him because he was at Baylor and WVU played him. But I believe this is his third team. He's been in the league 4 years. This is his third team. He's likely not that good. So I think that this team is incredibly overhyped. I'm not saying they're going to be bad. I just think they're overhyped. And if you think they're the second best team in the NFC, I think you're fooling yourself.
It's not a bad point, my friend. But
if they were in any other division, I don't think they'd win the division, especially in the NFC.
You may be right.
I don't know about the North. I'd say no with Aaron Rodgers and Minnesota in that division. I don't think they'd win the South. They don't have the most talented roster in the South. I don't think the East either. I don't think they're better than Philadelphia.
I'd probably pick them to win the AFC South.
NFC South or AFC South?
AFC South.
I didn't mean any division. I meant the NFC divisions.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. You're definitely right about that.
And one other thing is their schedule is brutal.
Yeah.
At Oakland to start the year, at Seattle, at Denver, that's 3 road games in a row. At Seattle, at Denver, at San Francisco, 3-week road trip. At New Orleans, and then I got ahead of myself. Kansas City and Mexico City. At Detroit, at Chicago, at Arizona. Just there's a lot of travel in there, an international game against a team with a great coach. And then a 3-game road trip early in the year. I'm just not crazy about this team. I honestly think this team, this is kind of a good segue, I guess, into more of our records. I think this team's going to be about 10-6.
I got the Rams at 11-5.
I won't be surprised, but I think I'm going to say more 10-6.
Yeah,
I
got
like
the
other teams more than them.
I do too. I got the Niners 9-7, Seahawks 8-8, and the Cardinals 6-10.
So I said the Rams are 10-6. I think the Niners are about 8-8. I do have Seattle below 500. I don't like it, but I'm gonna say about 7-9.
I disagree.
Yeah, and then Arizona could be 6-10. I need to see Josh Rosen first. Right now, I'm about 5-11.
Not far off. We're not far off.
Yeah, we're not. So yeah,
I'm excited to do better divisions soon.
Yeah, we will be. So for those wondering, in our opinion, I ranked them by 1 through 8, and I decided let's do worst to first. So no offense to the AFC East, but it's probably the worst division in the NFL. We thought the NFC West was a close second, and from here on out, I think our next one is the AFC North. And then one more thing, we don't have a guest. I forgot to mention that because we don't know any NFC West fans. I really tried to think. I couldn't think of a Seahawks fan, Niners fan, Cardinals fan, or Rams fan. So that's where we're at. Hopefully, I think from here on out, though, we know people who are fans. AFC North, we know plenty of Steelers fans. You might be in Baltimore. You might know a lot of Ravens fans.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, exactly. And then NFC North, you got me. You got my friend Andrew, who's a Packers fan. AFC West, we got Artis. We need to ask Artis, see if he wants to be on the show. Talk about his Chiefs. And then AFC, what was after that? NFC, no. I think AFC South. And we got Justin from our own Chick-fil-A. Biggest Jaguars fan I've ever seen. And then I think NFC, no, it was AFC South. Is that right? No, I just said that. So NFC East, which we know all kind of Eagles, Giants, Cowboys fans. And then I think we wrap it up with the NFC South. That's probably going to be the toughest division.
Yep.
And living in the South, I know a lot of Falcons and Panthers and Saints fans. So,
yeah, all right, my friend.
Yeah, so this is it. We stayed on probably a little bit longer than we intended. But, yeah, that's our NFC West preseason preview. So we got more coming. James, thank you as always for coming back.
No problem, brother.
Absolutely.
See you tomorrow.
Yep.
Later.
Later.